What's going on, everybody? You have Tone here, and I'm here bringing you guys my team builder and battle for week number 2 of season 2 of the PCL, where this week we are taking on the Portage Herdiers, coached by Just Kurt. His links and stuff will be in the description down below, as well as all the other coaches in the PCL, so be sure to check them out if you haven't done so already. So, if you don't still remember, our week 1 game, we came away with a very narrow 1-0 win over the Chicago Bearticks, and we're looking to continue that momentum heading into our week 2 game against Just Kurt and his Portage Herdiers, and he has a very, very threatening team. His team consisting of the Weavile, Tangrove, Torrent Greninja, as Battle Bond and Protein Greninja are allowed in this league. Arcanine, Bronzong, Musharna, Pheromosa, Tapu Fini, Mimikyu, Nidoking, and Mega Ampharos, with his Z users being the Greninja and the Arcanine. So, just looking at his team as a whole, there were some mons that kind of worried me, some a bit less than others. For starters, like Pheromosa. Pheromosa is fast, it's very, very fast, it's very offensive, both with special attacks and physical attacks, but the main thing with Pheromosa against my team, I think the main issue is the fact that I feel like I can check Pheromosa fairly well with my roster, between the combination of Clefable, Crobat, and my Aegislash specifically. I don't think he really has enough to wear down all 3 of them at the same time. He technically can deal with all 3 of them with Pheromosa, with a combination of Poison Jab, Ice Beam, and Throat Chop for the Aegislash, but I can easily King Shield on the Throat Chop, and on top of that, because Pheromosa is so frail, if any damage I get off on Pheromosa and putting it in range of my Aegislash's Shadow Sneak, it's just going to get destroyed anyway. But Pheromosa kind of wasn't the biggest problem for my team. In hindsight, I think the bigger problem for my team specifically was the Greninja, and his bulkier mons did give my my offensive threats, specifically my Mega Gallade, as you see this set in front of you. I really wanted to try to wear those things down with a combination of my Mega Gallade, trying to potentially set up a sweep with my Aegislash in the late game. So, just jumping right into my team builder here for this matchup. So first off, you see my Mega Gallade set, Bulk Up, Drain Punch, Poison Jab, and Shadow Sneak with max HP, 108 attack, and 148 in speed with a Jolly nature. The speed is enough to outspeed Jolly max speed Mimikyu, and everything slower than that. So the premise behind this Mega Gallade set is to just wear down his fatter mons, the Musharna, the Tangrove, the Tapu Fini. Like, the combination of Drain Punch and Poison Jab is just very, very nice in this matchup, because he doesn't really have the best switch-ins to Drain Punch plus Poison Jab. Like, his only real switch-in is that Nidoking. I originally had Ice Punch in the last slot, but since Nidoking wasn't the most difficult to wear down, I didn't really fear it that much, and unless it was packing Shadow Ball, which I don't believe 2 KOs me unless he was like Life Orb, which I didn't really do the calcs for, I was still fine, because if I'm able to get up at least to +1, and if he's Scarf, then he's doing even less because he doesn't have that boost behind Life Orb, and I can just Drain Punch that health back and do a good amount of damage to that Nidoking. And if he loses his Nidoking, I guess he could also has that Mimikyu in the back, but I have ways of chipping away at the Mimikyu as well, excuse me. So I figured Shadow Sneak was a lot better alternative in the final slot, because it lets me pick off stuff like Weavile to a lesser extent, Greninja again to a lesser extent, primarily Pheromosa if he decides to bring it, but outside of that, everything else just gets chipped away between the combination of Drain Punch and Poison Jab. And with Bulk Up boosting its attack and defense, I have a much easier time of breaking down his fatter mons, specifically the Fini and the Musharna. To aid my Mega Gallade in said wearing down of those fatter mons on his team, I am bringing my Nihilego with Toxic Spikes, Power Gems, Sludge Wave, and Foul Play with Expert Belt, not making the same mistake as I did last week when I brought Assault Vest. I really wanted to maximize the amount of damage I get off on his team, and Toxic Spikes, it's just so nice in this matchup, because his only way of getting rid of Toxic Spikes is between absorbing them outright with his Nidoking, or he would have to defog them away with his Tapu Fini, which is his only way of getting rid of hazards on his team. So this is specifically there for the Toxic Spikes, is specifically for the Fini and for the Musharna. If I can get those things on a timer, negate the leftovers recovery, potentially knock him off later on in the match off, and this just aids my Mega Gallade so well. And on top of that, Nihilego pressures Fini already with Sludge Wave, so it's even better in this matchup. And Power Gem is just for pretty much everything else barring the Bronzong. And as for the last move, I put Foul Play there. Foul Play was really the only move that I could think of that let me chip away at both Bronzong and the Nidoking without having to worry about running like HP Ice for the Nidoking or HP Fire for the Bronzong, and then doing minuscule damage to the other. So I just put Foul Play. It did roughly about the same amount of damage to both of them, and it gets some chip damage off on either of them regardless of what I go for. So everything else is pretty straightforward. This is just speed boosting again, but max speed, and then I have enough to give my Nihilego, my special attack could be 1 point lower than Nihilego speed, and the rest I just put together between its defenses and some in HP. Nothing too much to say about that in terms of the EV spread. Next up is the H-Slash, which is my primary late game win con. Swords Dance, King Shield, Iron Head, and Shadow Sneak, max HP, max attack. Nothing really fancy about this spread. The 4 EVs I just put into speed to avoid speed creeps from stuff like Tangrowth. And the idea, like I said, I'm going to try to use Gallade to break down his bulkier mons. For my H-Slash, put him in a position where if I get up a Swords Dance and the rest of his team is chipped away, I can potentially win with the combination of Iron Head and Shadow Sneak, even though Iron Head is resisted by the Arcanine and the Greninja. The only thing I'm really fearing is the Greninja, and Arcanine, unless he's bringing like Bulldoze for my Nihilego, and he has like HP Grass for Seismitoad, it's going to have to give up something in terms of because he would want to have recovery to keep Arcanine around as much as he can, and if he goes through that route, then he's not really going to be able to deal with the rest of my team that effectively. So I feel like I'm able to chip it down, especially if I'm able to get up Toxic Spikes with my Nihilego, and that's pretty much what my H-Slash is trying to capitalize on, the combination of the chip from Poison plus the potential rocks from my Seismitoad, put it into range where my H-Slash can just come in and get up a Swords Dance and just potentially win from there. Like I said, the EV spread, it's very straightforward. Max HP, max attack, give it some bulk, maximize the bulk and maximize its attacking power between its dual stab. Next up, we have a Life Orb Clefable with Soft Boiled, Moonblast, Fire Blast, and Encore with 180 HP, 188 special attack, and 140 in speed. The speed is enough to outrun a non-timid max speed Mega Ampharos. It's pretty much the only thing on his team that I felt would be potentially max speed, so I want to at least hit that thing before I can potentially agility up and try to blow my team back. That's kind of what I'm trying to avoid. With that scenario, Moonblast is there to do a significant amount of damage to the Mega Ampharos, to the Tapu Fini, and Fire Blast is here to deal with the Bronzong, which is his primary resist to Moonblast, quote unquote. He does have the Arcanine and the Nidoking. Like, he has ways of switching into Clef. Arcanine and Nidoking being 2 of them, Bronzong being the 3rd, although it's a very soft check. So I don't really feel like I'm pressured that much, and with my Clef being offensive, I can do a significant amount of damage to the Bronzong, chip that thing down for my Nihilego if I need to, make it easier to pick it off with a Foul Play. His only real switch-ins to Moonblast and Fire Blast are the Arcanine and the Nidoking, but if I'm able to get up Toxic Spikes and I'm able to get up Rocks especially in the case of Arcanine, then that Moonblast is going to do a tremendous amount of damage, and he's going to have to pick and choose between either keeping his Arcanine healthy or try to take up another potential Moonblast from my Clefable. And then we have Encore in the last slot just to prevent his slower Pokemon from potentially setting up for free, specifically the Musharna. I don't want that thing going for like Calm Minds and going for barriers and all that stuff as I'm not bringing my Incineroar. I don't want that thing trying to set up in the late game and try to win that way. So I'm going to Encore it into said move, make it incapable of doing anything else that for the rest of the as long as it's Encore. I just keep firing off Moonblast until it drops, because it being Encored means it can't go for recovery, it cannot attack my my team, and I'm in the driver's seat in that regard. So nothing much else to say about that. I guess the HP investment is enough to guarantee take 2 Sludge Bombs from an uninvested Tangrowth from full, and the rest I just threw in the special attack to boost the power of Clefable's moves. So, moving on, we have our Crobat, which is Choice Band, with Brave Bird, U-Turn, Leech Life, and Sleep Talk, with max attack, 220 speed, and the rest I threw into HP. The speed is enough to outrun Weavile, and everything slower than that, non-Scarf. So, the idea with my Crobat, this is my Wall Breaker, this is my Momentum Grabber with U-Turn. I didn't really feel like I needed Cross Poison in this matchup, if only for the fact that it only hit the Tapu Fini. And Tapu Fini is already taking a lot of damage from Banded Brave Bird, that I felt like I didn't really need to go the route of clicking Cross Poison, because it would give Bronzong and Nidoking a free switch, in which I would like to avoid having. So I instead decided to put Leech Life over Cross Poison, if only for the fact that it does allow me to get recovery back on stuff like Weavile, stuff like Tangrowth, Greninja. I get back health on those mons, I get back health on Musharna if it decides to switch in, hard switch in, expecting me to go for Brave Bird, and stuff like that. And then Sleep Talk is mainly just there in case his Tangrowth is not like Assault Vest, if he decides to bring like Sleep Powder, I have something that can be put to sleep on my team. And then I'm still in a good position because I can then Sleep Talk the following turn, go for either a Brave Bird, U-Turn, or Leech Life, depending on what I get with Sleep Talk. So that's my general basis for bringing Sleep Talk over something like Defog, whatever the case may be. And then lastly, we have my Seismitoad with leftovers, Stealth Rock, Protect, Earthquake, and Knockoff with 252 HP, 196 defense, and 60 special defense. The HP and the defense investment lets my Seismitoad take 2 Icicle Crashes from a Choice Banded Weavile from full, and the rest I just threw into defense to take hits better from the likes of Tapu Fini and from the likes of the Musharna. And the Mega Ampharos as well. So this is my rocker, like I said. Protect is very nice for scouting. It's nice to rack up toxic damage from the Toxic Spikes. Earthquake is nice for hitting the Arcanine, doing damage to stuff like Mimikyu, the Nidoking. And then Knockoff is very important to knock off, not only knock off items, but typically knock off Tapu Fini's leftovers to prevent the recovery and to chip it down even more with the combination of the Toxic Spikes. So with that all out of the way, that is the team builder for week number 2 of the PCL. And without further ado, let's switch right over to battle and see how we did. Alright guys, so here we are with the battle for week 2 of the PCL, and the first thing I notice is, well, he brought a lot of mons that I really didn't expect in this matchup. First and foremost, there is no Weavile, there is no Tangrowth, and more importantly, he did opt to bring the Pheromosa, and he did bring Fini and the Musharna, which I was expecting 100%. The Mega Ampharos also caught me a little bit off guard, but it's nothing I can't handle. But for the most part, I more or less got his team correct. Like I said earlier, I really didn't think I thought what I had on my team would be enough for him not to bring Pheromosa. I thought Weavile or Tangrowth was definitely coming in this game. So me not seeing neither of those was a big surprise to me. But he opted to bring the Greninja, the Musharna, Pheromosa, Mega Ampharos, Tapu Fini, and the Nidoking. And first thing I'm noticing is that, yeah, Toxic Spikes are just going to be so fantastic in this matchup for me, as once I get Toxic Spikes down and I'm able to get rid of the Nidoking, Toxic Spikes are here to stay. Even if it's default Tapu Fini has to come in on Toxic Spikes, get poisoned, and then defog them away for the rest of the team. So that's still going to be fantastic if I'm able to chip away at the Fini in that regard. So in terms of a lead matchup, I felt as though my best lead would be the Crobat, as looking at his team composition, his only Stealth Rocker is the Nidoking. No Bronzong also caught me off guard too, so, and no Arcanine either, so his team is looking very, very susceptible to my Clefable's Moonblast as well. So, with all that out of the way, let's just jump right into the battle and see how we did for week number 2. So, as I mentioned, I felt as though my best lead would be the Crobat, if only for the fact that it outsped everything on his team except for the Pheromosa. And even if he led with Pheromosa, I was fine with it as long as he didn't click Ice Beam like right away. So I'm going to lead off with my Crobat, as I mentioned. He's going to lead off with Gurmit, his Greninja, which is a perfect situation for me, because what this means is I get a free U-turn off unless he's Scarf Greninja, but the way he switched out immediately makes me believe he's not. He sent out the Mega Ampharos here as I go for the Choice Banded U-turn on the Ampharos, and unfortunately I get Static Parrot. So that is an unfortunate way to start the battle, because I lose my speed advantage over the Greninja, and my Crobat essentially just became a bit useless. However, I do get momentum out into my Clefable here, as he's gonna switch out his Mega Ampharos into the Tapu Fini, as I'm going to just fire off a Moonblast, get as much damage off on something as I can, and as you're going to see, this is going to do a solid, roughly 40%, I want to say, to this Tapu Fini, which leads me to believe this Fini is more physically defensive, if anything. So now he's going to pull a double here, and he's going to go into his Nidoking, as I'm going to pull a switch out and go out into my Crobat. What this essentially means is I was essentially just trying to sack off my Crobat here because it got paralyzed. He's going to opt to go for Stealth Rock here. I thought he would try to kill my my Crobat with the Ice Beam, but we're going to break through the paralysis and fire off a Choice Banded Brave Bird, and we are going to outright knock out the Nidoking, which is absolutely fantastic, because this means that once Toxic Spikes are up with my Nihilego, they're up for the rest of the match. So in comes the Mega Ampharos here, as he's going to Mega Evolve here. I have no reason not to just stay in and just try to go for Brave Bird, get some damage off on this Mega Ampharos, put it in range to where my Clefable can knock it out with the Moonblast. So we break through paralysis again as we go fire off another Choice Banded Brave Bird, and we're going to get a crit, which I believe in hindsight, in my sense, didn't really matter that much. Like, he's going to go for a Volt Switch, knock out my Crobat, but that is totally fine, as I'm essentially getting Switch initiative for this turn, as he's going to go out back into his Greninja. I figure my best play is to go out into my Gallade, because I can take any one hit from this Greninja, even a Z move at this point. So I'm going to Mega Evolve here. I'm just going to click Drain Punch. I'm not going to try to bulk up while he still has a Musharna and a Fini at essentially, well, he has a full HP Musharna and a Fini. So he's going to U-turn out here. He reveals he's Life Orb, which I actually did not catch at the beginning of that turn. So he's going to go on to Musharna here. He reveals he's Forewarn over Synchronize, which surprised me a bit. So I'm going to go for the Drain Punch there, get some recovery back. I get another crit, which is kind of unfortunate, as the Musharna is going to come out onto the field, and now I get to go out in. I'm going to go make the play, go hard into my Clefable here, because if he tries to set up in front of my Gallade, I would prefer to Encore that thing into whatever set of move he goes into, as he goes for the Barrier here, which is fine, because now I get to click Encore here, Encore him into Barrier, and essentially just fire for a free Moonblast the following turn here. So he's going to go and switch out here on my Encore into his Mega Ampharos, which is essentially he's going to sack it off here. And then he's going to fire off a Moonblast and take out the Mega Ampharos, which is essentially a sack at this point, because to him, Mega Ampharos really wasn't doing much else, if anything, in this game. In comes the Tapu Fini one more time as he sets up the Misty Terrain. And what I'm going to do here, I'm going to go out into my Nihilego, as what this does for me is no matter what move he goes for, as he reveals leftovers, there's no way he's going to take me out with one attack. As he goes for Nature's Madness here, it takes my Nihilego down to half HP, but because the Neo King is now gone, I now get to fire off, get my Toxic Spikes up, which is what I really wanted to try to do in the early game here, as he's going to switch out and he's going to go into his Musharna as I go for the Toxic Spikes. As his 4-1s activates for foul play, I get my T-Spikes up, which means that the Finny is now essentially going to have to come into the battle poisoned, which is fantastic for me. So with the Musharna back in, I go back out into my Clefable here, because I have no reason not to just repeat the process. As he goes for the Side Shock here, does a good chunk to my Clef here, but I'm just going to fire off a Moonblast, and him staying in is actually fantastic, because what this means is he's letting his Gallade check get whittled down even more. He's whittling my Clefable down with the Side Shocks, but I will gladly take the exchange of my Clef getting weakened if it means his Musharna is out of the picture, which means now it's looking very, very nice for my Mega Gallade to just bulk up and win. In comes to Pheromosa here. I wanted to go into Aegislash, but I didn't want to predict, so I just decided to let my Clef go down here to the Poison Jab. In hindsight, I should have gone on into Aegislash, but I didn't want to make that. I didn't want to risk it. Him like predicting me and going for the Throat Chop. So I let my Clef go down, and now I'm going to go out into my Aegislash here, as I am going to as he reveals his Life Orb on the Pheromosa here, and I'm figuring he can't, even if he goes for Throat Chop, it won't be doing much to me, so I'm gonna like just go for a straight up for a Swords Dance here, as the Finny comes out, gets poisoned by the Toxic Spikes, which is exactly what I wanted, and I'm gonna go for a Swords Dance here, and I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do a tremendous amount of damage to this type of Finny with a +2 Iron Head, and I figured at this point, you know what, I don't think +2 was enough, so I'm going to try to go +4. He didn't reveal Taunt yet. I don't know if he has it, but I'm going to go for it anyway. He goes for Nature's Madness, so I'm thinking maybe he doesn't have Taunt, but I'm going to go for another SD here, get to +4, as +4 ensures that the Tapu Fini will drop to a +4 Iron Head. And I'm going to get some leftover recovery, and now I'm just going to fire off an Iron Head. I don't really care what he decides to do here, as that poison damage is whittling away at this Finny. And now he reveals a Taunt, but I picked the right opportunity, the right turn in this case, to go for the Iron Head. This is a +4 Iron Head, and we are going to blow back the Tapu Fini. So Aegislash picking up a kill in this game. Down goes the Finny. And then from here, I kind of wanted to make the play out and preserve my Aegislash, which I kind of should have did here, but instead I'm going to go for the Shadow Sneak. I figure I'm at +4, get some damage off on this Greninja. I knew it wouldn't kill, but I couldn't like risk him getting a crit on something else, so I let my Aegislash go down here to the Dark Pulse, which is a little bit scary considering now that Pheromosa is like my Pheromosa response is gone, but I do have my Greninja essentially near full, so I'm just going to go for Shadow Sneak here, thinking that was going to pick him off, but it doesn't. However, what it does do is he's going to go for U-turn here, do a good chunk, and he's going to take himself out with the Life Orb recoil. So all he has left now is that Pheromosa against my Nihilego, Gallade, and my full HP Seismitoad. In comes the Pheromosa here. He's going to go for the U-turn here. I'm just going to click Drain Punch. That did a lot of damage. I go to further Drain Punch. And that is actually a crit. So we crit the Pheromosa here. And it's actually going to die to Toxic Spikes. The Toxic from Toxic Spikes. So Pheromosa is going to drop here. And we are going to pick up a 3-0 win over Kurt and the Portage Herdiers. So first and foremost, GG to Kurt. That was a very, very fun game nonetheless. Regardless of the amount of crits I got in that game, I think I got like 3 or 4. I felt like I executed my game plan perfectly The one thing I really wish I was able to do was get up rocks with my Seismitoad, but never happened. The Toxic Spikes was a lot more beneficial in this game as opposed to getting up rocks, as it really chipped away at his Musharna and his Tapu Fini. Just did a tremendous amount of work there. Clefable putting in the work, picking up 2 kills, and pretty much essentially everything that showed up in this game, barring my Seismitoad, of course, was able to put in some work in some way, shape, or form. Really, really happy about how the game plan was executed. Toxic Spikes, I already mentioned, put in a big amount of pressure against his team, whittling down the Finny, whittling down his Pheromosa. I still felt like even though I sacked off Aegislash to the Greninja, I still felt like I had the game in the bag. More or less, I probably should have just sacked off my Nihilego and then gone out into my Gallade, sacked off the Gallade to have Aegislash in the back for Shadow Sneak on the Pheromosa, but in the end, it ended up working out for the best. So, yeah, we pick up a nice 3-0 win, start the season 2-0, plus 4 differential. Really, really solid start to our season. And that's pretty much it from me. Again, good game to Kurt. If you check out his side of the battle, his links and stuff will be in the description, as I mentioned, as well as checking out all the other coaches in the PCL if you haven't done so already. And yeah, that's going to be it from me, guys. Next week, we take on our good friend Danta and his Los Angeles Nidoking in a very, very exciting matchup of teams. And yeah, that's going to be it from me, guys. Hope you guys did enjoy. And until the next time, this is Tone, signing out for now. Peace out.